What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sports with Warbs. Today, I have a bit of a different video for you. It's a reaction, which I know I've done in the past, but this is a reaction to the UFC card that happened last night, UFC 263, and the Social Gloves YouTubers versus TikTok boxing last night. So before I get into it, I do want to preface it because I know everyone's kind of has their opinions on what goes down with these YouTube and these guys when they get in the ring. Basically, I like it because I grew up on the internet and I've watched these guys for years, and I love watching UFC and boxing in general on its own. So you put those together, I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna talk about it. The main event I'm gonna start out with for the UFC was Izzy versus Vittori. This was exciting. I mean, this was a masterclass by Izzy. It had been a little bit since we'd seen him kind of do this. I mean, by a little bit, I mean, he lost his last fight, obviously, when he moved up the division. He looked a little weaker when Yan was able to get on top of him with the wrestling and keep him on his back. So to see him come against Vittori, a guy who easily, people say, took him down in his first fight, their first fight together, even though Izzy won, people were saying that's where Vittori would win. And you just saw a masterclass by Izzy during this. I mean, he was that like there was like multiple times in the fight throughout all the rounds where he would get taken down flat on his back like he was in the other fight. And he would find ways to either spin around or get up to his butt and then use the cage to get up, or maybe get on his knees and then push his way up. And then if you take it to the feet, he's happy all day because he can kind of get, I noticed especially last night, and anyone we watched probably, that he could kind of take a punch. He would go against the cage, he would take the punch, but then his counter punching is just so good and so clean that he kind of welcomes that. So I mean, it was a masterclass by Izzy. I do think he won every round, but Vittori, he put the pressure. He was putting the pressure on the whole fight. He had good endurance, clearly. But I mean, it was Izzy's night again, and he said he wants to fight again in October versus Whitaker. And I honestly think Whitaker might be the one guy who could get me to cheer against Izzy, because I love watching Izzy, and he's definitely a main event fighter. You could feel it in the arenas last night. They have the full arenas in the States right now. It's awesome. But I don't know, Whitaker, a big fan of him, and he this second match is going to be something I'm really excited for. Definitely more excited than the Vittori fight. So moving on, I'm just going to go to the main event of the TikTok event, and then I'll kind of finish off the UFC and then finish off the TikTok. So Bryce Hall versus Austin Mcbroom. Wow. I just want to say that going from watching like however many I watched the Social Gloves of fights, I think it was like 7, including the undercard, or maybe 6. And then going from that to the UFC, like just the skill and like the power the guys had, like it was jarring. Like obviously I watch UFC every weekend, but like watching these guys kind of like, not really as much technique going after each other, locking each other up. Obviously boxing, you see different sports, but it was just like to see the skill difference. Obviously it was just kind of funny to go back and forth. If anyone else was doing that, I assume some people out there were. But yeah, so Bryce Hall versus Austin Mcbroom. Mcbroom, he looked good. I mean, I've watched all these YouTube boxing things, and he looked solid. A lot of the guys last night actually performed pretty well. You could tell they took the training seriously. They kept mentioning on the broadcast they have the money to train with these pros, and I mean it kind of pays off. You can definitely see. He fought against Bryce Hall, the street fighter who was apparently 40-0 in street fights, and you could tell. I don't really know, was his strategy to like throw 2 shots, then lock him up like on the butt. Like he had a point taken away in the first round doing that. Like it's not a street fight. You can't throw 2 punches and then lock him up under and like pick him up. Like that's not gonna fly, and it didn't. Mcbroom looked good. I didn't think he definitely, you could tell he was a D1 athlete. Hall, you could tell he was a street fighter. And I think pretty much from the opening bell, people were kind of assuming Mcbroom will win. But props to Hall for making the walk. I mean, a lot of people were saying he wouldn't even do it. Portnoy said he might not. Like they were like, is he going to cancel? He made the walk and he took the guy on. And after the fight, he turned into a nice guy, Bryce Hall. I was putting on Acto. I never claimed to be a fighter. I don't know if I believe that, considering he was saying in the lead up, I'm going to knock him out in 2 rounds. I know that's prep, but I mean, after the fight to say that when you clearly did, like I literally considered maybe like going back and finding the clips of like 100 times in the preview to the fight saying he was a fighter. So it's like, he was respectful, but just say something besides that, because we all know you were definitely claiming to be one. Moving on, I mean, so this was also like a crazy thing to watch. Brandon Moreno, the first Mexican UFC champion, beating Figueiredo, someone people thought was like one of the top fighters, and he could be. He definitely looked off though to me last night. Moreno was basically dominating him in every facet. He was keeping him down. He was punching well. I mean, the guy submitted him. I mean, that's very impressive in the UFC. Submissions don't happen all the time, and especially in a championship fight against a top caliber fighter and a champion. It was insane. But the after reaction, I tweeted like top 5 UFC moment. Like, I had never really watched too much Moreno. I think I might have watched his a few previous fights, but nothing really that made me a huge fan. But to see that reaction and the crowd go nuts, I mean, obviously they're in Arizona, which is very close to Mexico, so a lot of the fans were probably coming over because you could hear the boos and the cheers for Moreno. And when he won, that was a really special UFC moment. Technically wise, like I said, he dominated him. I'm really excited to see who his opponent will be. I saw some tweets that there's an undefeated guy in the division, and it'll be exciting to see. But I really loved that moment last night. I mean, it was like chills. Like, I mean, that's why you watch the UFC. Like, it's awesome. There's no other sport like it. So moving on, we got Diaz versus Edwards. So I mean, saw another tweet. Edwards won the fight and Diaz won the night. Anytime Diaz performs, he's going to be a draw. He's going to be one of the main guys on the card. I mean, people were so excited for this, including me. Like, these top 3 fights were probably the best 1, 2, 3 I've ever seen in terms of the UFC. They gave him 5 rounds for this fight, which is something they had never done before. And it took till the 5th round for War Diaz to come out and knock him, but the blood was going. It was a classic Diaz. I mean, he may have lost, but it's people like, people don't always watch these fighters to win. You watch for entertainment. You watch the guys you like, the guys who used to be at the top, who can still draw, who gives Edwards a respectable name, makes him some money. So, I mean, I really like that. As for Edwards, where he goes from here, Joe Rogan clearly loves him. He's saying he's a top 4 guy in the division. I think he's probably going to need one more fight and then go for that title. But this is a step in the right direction for him. He has stepped out of the plate against Chimaev, even though the fight fell through, and Diaz. So 2 unranked guys who's willing to come back in again. So we'll see. He'll probably get a good fight next, and then we'll see what happens from there. But great UFC night. I mean, these nights are the ones that proved to me why I watched UFC. They're awesome. So moving on, I'm going to finish off the Social Gloves event. So I just want to say the biggest robbery I have ever seen in an event. Like, I actually, like, it had to have been rigged, right? Gibb versus Holder in the main event, or the co-main event, my bad. I mean, Anisan Gibb dominated him. I mean, body shots, that he was a lot taller, so you knew he was going to do the body shots. People were saying, Holder's been boxing 6 years. Oh, this, that. He trained with Canelo. Well, I mean, his defense might have been decent, but you got to throw, and at some point you got to bring the arms down. It's not like it's Mayweather versus Logan Paul here. Like, you can't just sit like that and tire him out. He didn't get tired. The stamina from Gibb was astonishingly nice. He said before the fight, it's going to be insane pressure the whole fight. That's what people should expect. And there was no question that's what happened. And he literally won all 5 rounds. I have no idea where they got draw from. If you can pick out 2 rounds in there where Holder won, I'd be fascinated to see it. But that was probably the biggest surprise draw I've ever seen in my life. Gibb definitely won. As for them fighting a second time, I don't see a need for it. He dominated him. Holder should probably fight someone, I don't know, of less quality. Maybe like this next guy I'm going to talk about, Deji. I mean, he would probably beat him, but I don't know. Where they go from here, it'll be interesting. I do think there's going to be more events like this because it was such a success last night and people were pleasantly surprised, including me. Like I said, there's obviously a big discrepancy going from this event to the UFC, but I mean, that's going to be obvious. So you just kind of have to get over that and enjoy it for what it is. And that's what I do. Like I said, I love YouTube. I'm watching forever. I grew up on the internet, and for them to fight, I mean, I love it. Like, I was so pumped up. So anyway, moving on. I'm going to talk about 2 more fights here. The Deji versus Vinnie Hacker fight. Holy crap. I was speechless at the end of this. Deji was like a huge favorite here. They thought he was taking an easy fight against this 18-year-old TikToker who had never been in the ring before. And Buddy comes in with a gut, making jokes about how he's eating donuts, how blah, blah, blah. People are saying, oh, I think he's underselling himself. No, he just had shit stamina. And, you know, taking a knee in mid-fight, I've never seen that before. I mean, those are the things that happen with these events where you're like, what the hell? And him taking the knee was definitely one. And then just getting pushed in the corner, feet down. He was the one YouTuber who lost on the event. I mean, poor Deji, dude. He's had like many embarrassing moments in the box ring. I watched his video this morning. He said he wants to fight again. He's gonna train his cardio, but dude, I don't know. I mean, he did take Jake Paul the furthest he's been taken, but that was a very raw Jake Paul, not the guy we see today. And clearly Deji, I don't know, he wasn't able to build on that success that he had against Paul. But I mean, congrats to Vinnie Hager. That's crazy. You're 18, you're getting in there like when I was 18. Like I definitely hadn't, but this is like these guys, it blows my mind, these ages, and I'm only 22. So the last fight I want to talk about, just because it was so awesome, and this is probably the loudest pop I had during the whole Social Gloves event, was Jarvis versus Michael Lee. I mean, Michael Lee, 48 million TikTok followers. That's like the upper echelon. Like that's no joke. Like this guy has a ton of fans. He seems like a nice guy. You know, he wanted to do some fake beef. Jarvis called him out. You probably should have seen that coming. Jarvis is one of the bigger trolls on the internet, but you know, he was respectable after the fight. You know, it was clearly, you know, he put in his work. He just basically got his ass beat by Jarvis, and Jarvis looked like mean out there, man. He looked like he is going to be doing this again, and he looked impressive. He was, I think, from my memory, he's the only one who got like a straight knockdown where Buddy just falls to the ground like out of nowhere, and that's the fight. I think, you know, there's another TKO, and there's a couple others. I mean, obviously the Bryce Hall one, but those ones that kind of stumble against the ring afterwards, they complain, oh, you shouldn't have stopped. You shouldn't have stopped. They should have stopped it every time. I mean, the refs knew what they were doing. You didn't. But Jarvis with that knockdown was awesome. I can't wait to see where he goes next. There's some very impressive fighting I saw, and you know, not to say they're going to be going like anywhere other than the social scene, picking these opponents, but I was very impressed. I mean, it blew my expectations out of the water, to be honest. The first fight on the night on the pre-card was good. These guys just beating each other up, man. They're doing training. They got the money to do it. And, you know, I understand why people hate on it. Like, but celebrity boxing's been a thing forever. The Logan Paul Mayweather, that's one thing. But these are guys who are training their hearts out and going against guys who are probably equal or a little bit more or less skilled in themselves. Like they're not trying to do anything other than, you know, get pay-per-view buys, entertain people. And I know I was entertained. So I'm not going to hate on it. I'm going to watch it. Like I said, more hockey videos tonight. We got a little preview for the Montreal Canadiens coming up. And yeah, but I appreciate you guys for watching. I will talk to you very soon. Peace.